I have a feeling that South Dakota Republican Senator Mike Rounds knows everything, and he can't tell us, but we're going to make him tell us. We're going to force it out of him. He joins us out of our nation's capital to tell us what we're all in store for tomorrow when we get those brackets and details, what's in, what's out, what's allowed, what's not allowed. So, Senator, will it be worth the wait?
I sure hope so. I'm waiting just like you are. No, actually, they've been very good about trying to bring together small groups to talk about the issues that are important to us. I think on a practical note, it's something that's got to have 51 votes in the Senate. It's got to have a majority of the votes in the House in order to get this done.
Right.
But probably on a more important side, it also is something that the American public have got to look at and say, this is a fair deal. And not only are we doing things that will actually jolt the economy, get businesses back in and operational again, but it's something that the average taxpayer, the worker, looks at and says, I got treated fairly in this thing as well. And that's the important part. And when you're talking about $5.5 trillion in promises in terms of reductions in tax rates, but you've only got $1.5 trillion to work with, it means there's $4 trillion worth of, as some of my colleagues call it, spinach that we've got to include in
And
this.
what's the spinach? What will have to be compromised? I mean, I'm told that there will be an additional rate for the upper income, or maybe you're going to have to phase in the corporate tax cut. What would be an anathema to you, something that would stick in your craw and you couldn't support?
You know, I'm not even going on that because we really do. We've got to get this done, and so we're going to do the best we can. It's going to take some compromise. It's not everybody's going to be happy with everything, but the end result has got to be something that says, number one, the economy is rolling again. Businesses are coming back into the country. That means there's more job opportunities. It means higher payrolls. But it also means for that average taxpayer out there that they feel like they got treated in this and didn't get shorted. So this is not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. And everything right now, under what we've discussed so far, as our leadership has shared with us, everything is on the table.
Does that include the deduction for state local taxes?
Well, I think that's going to be on the table to begin with, but I think the reality is in the House, they may not have the votes unless they do something with regard to property taxes. I know in South Dakota, our farming community is concerned about the fact that property taxes may not be deductible. That'd be a significant impact, not just in rural states like mine, but in the high tax states as well. And South Dakota is really at the bottom. I think we've got the second lowest or the lowest tax rate of any state in the nation, which we're proud of. But nonetheless, property taxes are something that people pay attention to. So is it on the table? Yeah. Do we know where it's going to end up at? Not until the final vote is taken.
All right. You know, the president claims that this will be the biggest tax cut ever. What is he basing that on, Senator?
You'll have to ask the president what he's basing that on. I can tell you that in terms of the impact to the economy, it is huge. And just as an example, if we're able to move GDP up from the 1.5 to 1.8 that they're projecting right now over the next 10 years, if we can get that up to 3%, we win. I mean, we walk away with literally trillions more dollars in the economy, which will really add to a huge increase in the actual payrolls that are available for the average working Joe out there. And for people that have two incomes coming in for moms and dads, it'll mean they actually get to reap or to increase the amount of payroll in their family, which they haven't been able to do over the past 8 to 10 years. You see, when GDP is running at 1.5%, which is what it was doing for the last 8 to 10 years, if we can bump that back up into that 3% plus category, well, we win. The average wage earner does as well, because
that raises what, $2.5 trillion over 10 years, and as you indicated, the cost of this package right now seems to be north of $5 trillion. You've set aside $1.5 trillion. You're still short, right?
Well, now wait a second. Remember, we're also pulling back in some spinach there to the tune of about $4 trillion. So the actual impact on a static basis is $1.5 trillion. Now, we both know that we're playing with some numbers because you've also got the policy issues.
What's the biggest spinach that you're offering to do that?
You know, well, right now there's a number of them on the table, and the one thing we're not going to do is to say where there's only one that's going to come off the table. But I do think that state and local taxes is probably going to be one of the tougher ones to work our way through. The other part is that as you begin to change rate the rates within the different categories, there's a lot of us that really feel strong that for folks in that very bottom category, that 10% category, it's really tough to walk in and to sell that at going to 12% on the rate. And I think that's going to be addressed. The fact that we're going from $12,000 to $24,000 for a family, basically, in terms of deductibility, that's going to help a lot of people. And the fact that we're still discussing child tax credits as a part of it, I think we're going to come up with some plans that are really going to help people in the very bottom end of our economy to maybe not get hit as hard as what they have right now in the existing tax structure. But the focus has got to be on growing the economy, and that means we've got to bring businesses back into the United States. That's our goal.
All right. We'll know tomorrow. We're going to have a better idea tomorrow.
Yeah.
Senator, thank you very much. Senator Mike Rounds.